I am Bill, a 34-year-old software engineer who built a life I thought was solid. Then I walked in on my wife Amanda, in bed with my half-brother Jake, my dad's golden boy. When I told my father about this ultimate betrayal, his response floored me. "Keep this quiet for the family image." That was the moment I realized I was done protecting people who had no respect for me. The lifetime of playing nice while being treated as disposable was over. Before I tell you how I dismantled my entire family's web of lies, let me know where you are watching from, and subscribe if you have ever had to choose your self-respect over keeping the peace. I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut in a sprawling colonial home with a manicured lawn and a family that looked perfect from the outside. My father, Richard, was a successful investment banker who valued appearance above all else. My mother died from cancer when I was 12, leaving me alone with a father who always seemed disappointed in me despite my achievements. When I was 7, my father remarried and had another son, Jake. From the beginning, it was clear Jake was the favorite. Where I was studious and reserved, Jake was outgoing and charismatic. My academic scholarships and perfect grades never received the same enthusiasm as Jake's mediocre sports performances. I learned early that in our family, perception mattered more than substance. After graduating with honors in computer science, I built a successful tech consulting business, specializing in security solutions for financial institutions. My father reluctantly acknowledged my success, but always found ways to minimize my accomplishments. "Anyone can get lucky in tech," he would say, while praising Jake for following him into finance despite Jake's average performance. I met Amanda during my senior year of college. She was studying business with plans to enter the finance world. We connected immediately, bonding over similar interests and compatible goals. She was ambitious but warmed the emotional support I had lacked growing up. After 6 years together, we married in a lavish ceremony. My father insisted on paying for more to impress his colleagues than to celebrate us. As a wedding gift, my father offered Amanda a position at his investment firm, working alongside Jake in client relations. I was hesitant, but supportive of her career ambitions. Over the next 8 years, we built what I thought was a solid marriage. We purchased a beautiful home in Westport, established ourselves in the community, and were financially secure. From the outside, we had achieved the American dream. The first signs of trouble appeared about a year ago. Amanda began working later, checking her phone constantly and growing distant. Our intimacy dwindled with Amanda, always too tired or preoccupied. When I expressed concern, she blamed work stress and assured me everything was fine. I believed her because I wanted to. Simultaneously, Jake started appearing more frequently in our lives. He would drop by unannounced for dinner, call Amanda directly about work matters, and position himself as my closest confidant, despite our strained relationship. During family gatherings, I noticed their inside jokes and lingering glances, but dismissed my suspicions as paranoia. Last month, I was scheduled to be in Chicago for 3 days meeting with a potential client. On the second day, the client canceled unexpectedly, so I decided to surprise Amanda by returning home early. As I pulled into our driveway around 2 in the afternoon, I noticed Jake's distinctive Tesla parked on the street. Walking into our house, I heard sounds from upstairs that instantly made my stomach drop. I moved quietly up the stairs, part of me still hoping for an innocent explanation. When I pushed open our bedroom door, there was my wife and my brother in our bed. The scene is burned into my memory. Amanda's expression shifting from ecstasy to horror. Jake scrambling to cover himself, clothing scattered across the room I shared with my wife. The bottle of champagne on the nightstand and the rose petals scattered across our bed made it clear this was not a spontaneous occurrence, but a planned rendezvous. Bill, Amanda gasped, clutching the sheets. "This is not what it looks like." Jake recovered more quickly. "Brother, you need to calm down and let us explain." I said nothing. What explanation could possibly justify this betrayal? I simply turned and walked out, ignoring their calls, as they hastily dressed and followed me downstairs. Amanda grabbed my arm, tears streaming. It just happened, she claimed, though the staged bedroom told a different story. We have been so emotionally distant lately. Jake tried a different approach. We never meant to hurt you. Sometimes feelings develop that we cannot control. I got back in my car without speaking and drove away, their excuses fading as I put distance between us and my world imploded. For hours I drove aimlessly around Connecticut, trying to process what I had seen and what it meant for my life. By nightfall I checked into a hotel, unable to return to a home that no longer felt like mine. My phone buzzed incessantly throughout that sleepless night. Amanda's messages ranged from apologetic to accusatory. "I am so sorry," quickly evolved into, "If you had been more attentive, this would never have happened." Jake's texts were equally manipulative. "We need to talk this through as a family. And do not do anything rash that might damage all our reputations." By morning, I had decided my first step would be confronting my father. Despite our difficult relationship, I naively expected him to be outraged on my behalf. I called his assistant and secured an immediate meeting at his office. Richard Walsh sat behind his imposing mahogany desk, barely looking up from his computer when I entered. At 62, he still maintained the intimidating presence that had shaped my childhood. "This must be important for you to demand an immediate meeting," he said. Finally meeting my gaze, I explained what had happened, keeping my voice steady despite the emotion threatening to break through. As I spoke, my father's expression shifted from annoyed to calculating, but never reached the anger or sympathy I had expected. When I finished, he sighed heavily. "These things happen in marriages, Bill. Jake made a mistake, certainly, but causing a public scandal serves nobody." I stared at him, unable to comprehend his response. "My wife and brother betrayed me in my own home, and your concern is public perception. The Walsh name means something in this community," he replied. "Your mother understood the importance of discretion. I had hoped you inherited at least that from her." Before I could respond, his office door opened, and Amanda walked in. She had clearly been crying, but looked composed in her professional attire. The realization that my father had called her hit me like a physical blow. "Bill, please," Amanda said, taking the seat beside me. "We need to handle this like adults. Making a public spectacle will only hurt everyone, including you." My father nodded approvingly. "Amanda understands what is at stake. The three of us can work through this privately. Perhaps a temporary separation while you process your feelings, followed by marriage counseling." It dawned on me that they had already discussed this before I arrived. They had aligned their strategy to manage me to contain what they viewed as my potential overreaction, rather than address the actual betrayal. "And Jake," I asked, "what consequences does he face in this plan?" My father waved dismissively. "Jake feels terrible. He will keep his distance until things settle. The important thing is maintaining our public standing." I stood abruptly. "I need some time," I said, walking out despite their protests. In the elevator down to the lobby, I realized this was far from the first time I had been asked to swallow my feelings to protect the family image. Over the next 3 days, I began investigating deeper. I hired a private investigator who quickly uncovered what I had been too trusting to see. Hotel receipts showed Amanda and Jake had been meeting for at least 2 years. Secret email accounts contained intimate exchanges and explicit photos. Text messages revealed they had coordinated their betrayal meticulously, sometimes messaging each other while we were all at the same family events. More disturbing were the business implications. Jake had been undermining my company's relationship with several clients we shared with my father's firm, suggesting they might find better service elsewhere. Amanda had shared details of my business strategies with Jake, giving him competitive advantages. They had discussed using my father's connections to launch a competing service once they had extracted enough information. As I processed this information, calls from extended family members began. It became clear that Richard had been busy controlling the narrative, describing the situation as a misunderstanding and my reaction as disproportionate. My cousin Samantha called to check on me and revealed that several family members had suspected the affair, but remained silent to keep the peace. "That is how it has always been in this family," Samantha said. "Problems get buried, not solved. Meanwhile, Amanda launched her own campaign, telling friends I had been emotionally unavailable and workaholic, painting herself as lonely and neglected. Several mutual friends reached out with concerns about my mental state, clearly having heard only her version of events. 5 days after the discovery, Jake showed up at my hotel. He alternated between tearful apologies and veiled threats about what I stood to lose if I pursued a messy divorce. He suggested Amanda might be willing to try again if I could move past this mistake. When I asked how long the affair had been going on, he avoided the question, instead emphasizing the importance of family unity. The next day, my father called to inform me he was restricting my access to family investments until I demonstrated maturity by reconciling with Amanda and Jake. This financial strong-arming might have worked if I had not already built my own successful business, independent of family money. The breaking point came 7 days after the discovery. My father arranged a family dinner expecting me to sit across from Amanda and Jake while maintaining a facade of normalcy. The invitation delivered by his assistant included a note: "Appropriate behavior is expected. We are Walshes first and foremost." That night alone in my hotel room, I made my decision. I would no longer protect people who had betrayed me so completely. If my father valued the family image above my dignity, then perhaps it was time for that carefully constructed image to burn. I spent the next morning consulting with divorce attorneys, meeting with 3, before selecting Patricia Montgomery, known for her aggressive approach and impeccable record. Her office walls featured newspaper clippings of high-profile divorces she had won, many involving infidelity. "Connecticut is a no-fault divorce state," Patricia explained, "but infidelity can influence property division and alimony, especially with proper documentation." I hired Mark Daniels, a former police detective turned private investigator, to document the ongoing affair. Despite knowing about my discovery, Amanda and Jake had resumed meeting, apparently confident in their ability to manage the fallout. Working with my company's financial officer, I secured our business assets and moved personal funds into protected accounts before Amanda could attempt to access them. I documented every piece of evidence of the affair and their financial misconduct, creating a comprehensive record of their betrayal. For 2 weeks, I planned methodically, while responding minimally to the barrage of messages from my family. To their growing concern, I responded with non-committal assurances that I was processing the situation. My first strategic move caught them completely off guard. On a Tuesday morning, when I knew my father's firm would be hosting important clients, Patricia had Amanda served with divorce papers at her office. The filing explicitly named Jake as the co-respondent and included initial evidence of the affair, making discretion impossible. Amanda called me sobbing and furious. "How could you humiliate me like this?" Everyone saw Jake's calls were equally panicked. "Do you have any idea what you have done? This could ruin all of us." By afternoon, my father's attorney had contacted Patricia with a settlement offer, attempting to resolve this matter quickly and quietly. The figure was substantial, but came with strict confidentiality requirements. I declined without hesitation. That evening, I sent a detailed email to extended family members, presenting a timeline of events with selected evidence attached. The message was simple and factual, ending months of controlled narrative by my father and leaving no room for misinterpretation. "I believe in transparency," I wrote. "No more family secrets." The annual Walsh Family Foundation charity gala was scheduled for that weekend. I had initially planned to avoid it, but now decided to attend. Walking into the ballroom alone created an immediate stir. My father's face tightened when he saw me and Jake, visibly paled. Amanda had wisely chosen to absent herself. Throughout the evening, well-meaning acquaintances approached with awkward condolences. When directly asked about my divorce filing, I answered calmly and honestly, refusing to participate in the family tradition of polite fiction. "Yes, I found my wife and brother together. No, I am not interested in reconciliation." The business consequences began unfolding the following week. I removed Jake from joint ventures we had established, informing our partners of the reason with documentation of his undermining activities. Several clients who had been approached by Jake contacted me to express support and confirm they would remain with my company. Amanda was placed on administrative leave from my father's firm as clients expressed discomfort with the situation. Her carefully cultivated professional image crumbled as colleagues learned the truth. She left increasingly desperate voicemails, alternating between blaming me for the consequences and begging for another chance. My father escalated his efforts to contain the damage. His offers to handle this internally grew more generous, culminating in a proposed trust fund that would have set me up for life in exchange for my silence and a reconciliation appearance. When I declined, he resorted to threats. "You are forcing my hand, Bill. If you continue this destructive path, you will be disinherited." "Is that what you want?" I responded with unexpected liberation. "You cannot take away what I have already given up." The Walsh name has cost me more than it ever gave me. The court proceedings continued despite their efforts to delay. I declined all standard confidentiality agreements, ensuring the proceedings remained public record. While I did not actively seek publicity, I made no effort to hide the truth when asked. When longtime family friends reached out with concern, I thanked them for their support on social media, indirectly confirming the rumors. Each post was carefully worded to state only facts without embellishment, making it impossible for my father to claim I was spreading falsehoods. Jake and Amanda's relationship began cracking under the scrutiny. They were seen arguing publicly at restaurants. Jake missed important meetings, and clients reported he appeared distracted and unprepared. Amanda moved into a smaller apartment, her social invitations dwindling as former friends chose sides. 4 months after discovery, a final confrontation occurred at my father's home. He had summoned me through his assistant, promising a reasonable discussion. I found not only my father waiting, but Amanda and Jake as well. "This has gone on long enough," my father stated. "You have made your point. Now it is time to consider the long-term consequences for all of us." I looked at each of them. My father, who had never truly respected me, my brother, who had betrayed me without remorse, and my wife, who had lied to my face for years. "I am considering the consequences," I replied calmly. "I am ensuring that actions have them." That is something this family never understood. As I left, my father called after me, "You will regret burning these bridges, Bill. Family is all we have in the end." I turned back one last time. "Then I suggest you treat your remaining family better than you treated me." The divorce was finalized 6 months after that fateful afternoon, when I discovered the truth. The judge, reviewing the substantial evidence of infidelity and financial misconduct, ruled heavily in my favor regarding property division. Amanda received significantly less than she would have in a standard no-fault settlement. I sold my shares in all family business interests, completely severing financial ties with the Walsh empire. The money went into expanding my own business and establishing a foundation supporting children who had lost parents to cancer, honoring the mother whose absence had shaped my life. The family permanently fractured into 2 camps. Some relatives, led by my father, maintained that I should have handled things within the family. Others, particularly younger cousins and my late mother's siblings, expressed support for my refusal to sweep another family scandal under the rug. 8 months after the divorce, I relocated from Connecticut to Austin, Texas. The vibrant tech scene provided new opportunities, and the distance from New England's insular social circles offered a fresh perspective. I purchased a modern home, overlooking Lake Travis, adopting 2 rescue dogs for company. Through family channels, I heard that Jake and Amanda's relationship had collapsed 3 months after my divorce. Without the excitement of forbidden romance, and faced with actual consequences, they discovered they had little in common beyond betrayal. Jake reportedly returned to his pattern of brief relationships, while Amanda struggled to rebuild her professional reputation. My father attempted damage control within their social circles, but the scandal had permanently tarnished the Walsh family image he had worked so diligently to maintain. Several charity boards asked him to step down, citing distractions that interfered with their missions. His investment firm lost several significant clients, who quietly moved their business elsewhere. 9 months after our divorce, Amanda sent a lengthy email. I made a terrible mistake, she wrote. Not just the affair, but failing to appreciate what we had. The life we built was real and valuable, and I destroyed it for something that was never going to last. I am not asking for reconciliation, just forgiveness. I read her message several times before filing it away unanswered. Forgiveness might come eventually, but it would be for my benefit, not hers. My therapeutic journey included joining support groups for betrayed spouses, which helped me process my anger and rebuild my sense of self-worth. I came to understand that the family dynamic I had accepted as normal was fundamentally unhealthy, built on conditional love and appearances rather than genuine support. My business thrived in Austin's innovative environment. I developed new security protocols that attracted major clients, eventually hiring a team of 30 employees. Without the shadow of the Walsh name, I found myself taking creative risks that paid off both financially and personally. Unexpectedly, several estranged relatives reached out after my move. My mother's younger sister, who had distanced herself from the family years ago after conflicts with my father, reconnected with warmth and stories about my mother I had never heard. Other family members who had been similarly sidelined by Richard's controlling nature found their way back into my life. On the first anniversary of my divorce, I took a solo hiking trip in Big Bend National Park. Standing on a cliff overlooking the vast desert landscape, I realized how much I had changed. The anger that had initially fueled my actions had transformed into something more valuable, unshakable self-respect. 2 months later, I met Lauren at a technology conference, where she was presenting architectural designs for sustainable data centers. Her straightforward manner and genuine integrity were immediately apparent. When I eventually shared my story with her, she listened without judgment. Family should be where you find support, not where you need armor, she observed. This simple statement crystallized my new understanding of what family could and should be: chosen connections based on mutual respect rather than obligation or appearances. 14 months after I left Connecticut, my father called with news of his heart condition. He suggested this health scare had given him perspective and expressed interest in reconciliation. While I agreed to maintain contact, I made it clear that any relationship moving forward would require acknowledgement of past wrongs and genuine change, not simply another exercise in maintaining appearances. The most valuable lesson from this painful chapter was learning that standing up for yourself may cost relationships, but enables authentic living. For years, I had compromised my dignity to keep the peace, a peace that benefited everyone except me. Walking away from toxic connections, even those bound by blood, created space for genuine connections based on mutual respect. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for yourself? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe and like this video to help others in similar situations find this message. And if you know someone trapped in the cycle of family manipulation, share this with them as a reminder that it is okay to walk away from those who do not respect you. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes burning bridges lights the way forward to a better life where you are valued for who you truly are, not just what you can offer others or how well you keep their secrets.